All right, Tommaso, welcome to the Micro Collector podcast. I'm very excited to have you on today. Thanks for taking the time to come chat with me.
Hi, thank you, Justin. It's nice to be here.
Well, I'm really excited to dig into your new project that you're launching, Axon Watches. I know that you have a Kickstarter that's going to launch soon, and really love the vision that you've shared there for producing grand complications, but making them attainable and making it something that all of us collectors out there that might not have the resources to be able to get the really high-end pieces, right? Now we can actually get our hands on some of these amazing creations. So we'll dive deeper into that. But maybe to start today, for those that aren't familiar with you, that aren't familiar with Axon Watches, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your story, your background. And I always love hearing about how founders like yourself get into watches in the first place. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about when you first fell in love with watches and how you became a watch enthusiast yourself.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for Axon Watches, we are two people. It's me and Christian. We are both co-founders of the brand. We are both two watch enthusiasts and watch collectors. I started around 8 years ago, more or less, because basically a close friend of my family and my father basically gave me all their watches they had. It was not a of course, very expensive collection or a very huge collection, but they had very interesting pieces, especially because my father received the watches, but he always only wore one. So all the other watches were just sitting in a drawer. And so starting from there, I had like a good amount, like probably 15 watches, 20. And then from that, I started, first of all, studying and learning about all of them, which were some interesting pieces, mostly vintage, some very cool, like a very vintage Longines with a beautiful patina. That was very, very nice, which is only time. And I started, that was, for example, it was broken. So I started restoring it. And then from that, I started reading books, watching YouTube videos of many watch influencers. And then from that, it started going. Then I started buying watches. And now I have, frankly, a bit too big collection. So now I stopped a bit buying because I want to consolidate it a bit because it's a bit too many watches, really. It's hard to wear them all. In fact, I have them split between my house and my parents' house because otherwise I can never wear them all. Instead, for Christian, which today couldn't make it in also in this podcast, but Christian started working on watches around in 2019, so I would say 7 years ago. He started working and collecting them. Then he started servicing the watches for friends, of course, because our main job is not watchmakers. I started servicing them, and then after doing like 1 or 2 years of servicing watches, he started making them only for close friends. It was not a business. It was mostly gifts from them. So, for example, his close friend, his mother's, he was making custom-made pieces only for them, maybe with some special meaning behind them. So, yeah, from that, he continued doing that. We both work in the same company, so that's why we got together on this project. I work in production in an automotive company. So my job is basically we check both the aesthetical part and the functional part of the cars, while Christian's job is more like quality. So he spends really all the day looking at the cars and checking for defects and checking for imperfections and check what can be improved. So he's very, very focused on that. And basically 1 year ago, we wanted to really do something with our passion, especially looking at the market and looking what was lacking, what was missing in the market. We found this small niche of grand complication watches, of complicated watches for a cheaper price, because of course there are plenty of grand complication watches, but not so many at an affordable price. So from that, we started 1 year ago with the design process, with the engineering process, with all the steps, with the supplier selection, with the testing, the prototypes, many version, some rapid prototypes with the 3D printer to check the dimensions and so on. And so around in September, October, we finalized the prototype. And then from that, we started testing it. And then from November, let's say, we started more on the marketing efforts. Now we are in the marketing part, let's say in the pre-launch phase of Kickstarter. And now we are pushing with the marketing to actually make the project be seen more and to get the first feedbacks on reviews and so on. So yeah, that's more or less.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been quite a journey from passion to actually now producing the watches, and you're just about to get them out in the world, which is a very exciting place to be.
Very.
You mentioned that, you saw a gap in the market. What made you choose this particular gap that you wanted to solve, right? I think it's very common when I speak to Microbrand founders that they saw a gap in the market, a type of watch maybe that they wanted, but they couldn't get. What made you choose grand complications as sort of the centerpiece of what you're focusing on, and essentially making it available at a attainable price? Why was that challenge so interesting for you to try to solve?
Yeah, because my collection is quite big, but even if it is quite big, I don't have like a very complicated watch because it's always very, very difficult to find it, especially in micro brands, because I've always seen very beautiful micro brands, beautiful watches with a design that is really, they are really, really pretty. I see so many, and like every time I think, I want this, I want that. So many. But we didn't find more technical pieces. We find more watches with maybe only time or just day and date, which were focusing more on other parts of the watch, maybe the design, maybe the materials, maybe the weight, maybe a more elaborated movement, more refined, higher grade. But what was lacking was a grand complication watch at a lower price, because from what we have been looking for, because it's something that I would like to buy, they were always at least one. It was very difficult to find like 1,000. It was more or less around the 2,000 mark, 2,000 euros mark. So from that, we thought, all right, we know that the grand complication watches and watches with a lot of complication must be more expensive, of course, than an average watch. But we wanted to really try to push as much as possible to have something that was really more affordable to the normal collectors, because of course we are not targeting the big collector who has a collection of 10 Rolexes, which can easily spend maybe 5K on a more complicated watch. We are targeting more the average enthusiast with a budget of around 1,000 euro or less to buy a new watch. And for those people, which is actually a lot of them, because not all can afford to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of euro on a watch, we wanted to give them the possibility to actually own something more complicated, more special, so that when he wears it on the wrist, he sees that it's not something that he could get bored of it quite quickly, because it's very, very complex and has a lot of functions. So from that, actually, our motto, which is "Memento auder semper," which is a Latin word, which can be translated in English to remember to always dare, because we wanted really to push the boundaries of what can be done by a microbrand. So to try actually something that was very hard to find. It's also very hard to do. I can assure you that. But yeah, it's something that we really want to really believe in and really want to push.
Very cool. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about the watch, right? So I think the first
Mhm.
watch that you guys are launching, which is coming on Kickstarter soon, as you said, is the Axon Origo. What are some of the features of this watch? You mentioned obviously grand complications are at the center of it. So I'm sure there's some really exciting features for us collectors to expect on it.
Yeah. Axon Origo is our first, and of course, since it's the first, it's the only model. We wanted to make a watch, first of all, that was wearable by most people. So we chose a case size of 39 millimeters in diameter, and is also 12.2 millimeters thick, which for a grand complication watches is not too much, considering that the movement has a lot of additional modules to actually get all the complications. The luck to luck is 45.8, so it's quite wearable even on smaller wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters, which is very small, and can actually fit. Unfortunately, now I don't have it on my wrist because they are all around the world being reviewed. So we have 2 prototypes at the moment that unfortunately I don't have one now. So the case is very, very wearable by, I would say, almost every people, almost every wrist. It features a Miyota 9 series movement. It's based on the 9015 movement. But in addition, we have added some modules on top of the movement to actually guarantee the additional complication. So in total, it has 5 complications, which is day, date, month, moon phase, and a 24-hour subdial, which you can see on the bottom of the dial. So for this was our base. We worked on the movement. We wanted to have actually a reliable movement. The Miyota is well known for being a reliable movement, especially the Series 9. Thought about maybe going on a Series 8, but we wanted a bit more higher specs, a bit more frequency, a bit more power reserve, especially for this watch. The dial is a cold enamel dial. We didn't want to make a sunburst dial or something that was a bit too shiny. We wanted to make it in a different finish. The cold enamel is not a Grand Faux enamel, which can be achieved at very high temperature, around 800 degrees. We wanted to achieve the same look, but of course, being able to actually offer the watch at a lower price. The cold enamel dial is made at a colder temperature, as the name suggests, which is around 300 degrees. And it's anyway a quite labor-intensive process because we layer up around between 5 and 6 layers of enamel coating, and between each layer, it needs to be cooked at around 300 degrees and then polished. Then you need to apply another layer, then polished. The final result, uh, it's very hard to describe the color. It changes really with the lights, and it's almost flat, kind of matte, but it's not matte because it's a shiny color. It's very, very hard even to capture it in the picture. I'm not a very good photographer, but to every time I take a picture of the watch, every time it has a different colors. When you try it on the wrist, it really shines, especially in my opinion, the gray dial. But this is only my opinion because it's my favorite. We made 2 versions, the gray dial and the black dial. So I choose the one color, Christian choose the second one. Of course, we choose the black because it's more versatile. Can be worn in many different occasions, but is a bit more maybe dressy. While the gray dial is the color that I wanted to try and to see. Is a bit less elegant, a bit less formal, and can be also worn in every occasion. And so these are the 2 color combinations that we will be offering. For the strap, we have partnered with an Italian supplier, which is close to Bologna, close to us, just a couple of hours away. The strap, so it's a young buffalo, which is very, very, very soft. It's super soft. It's so nice to touch at the touch. So it's a black strap. We kept it quite simple. It has a quick release strap in case the collector wants to change it. And as the clasp, we have chosen a butterfly clasp, which opens on both sides. So that fits exactly in the center. Then I would say that the dial, more or less the structure of the dial, on we have the 3 complication for the day. So day, number of the day, and month. So actually it is read kind of like when you read it in English. So for example, Thursday, the 1st of April. And on the bottom part, in such a way that mirrors the top part, we have put Roman numerals, especially because it reminds of the Italian origins of the brand. They are applied numerals, of course, high polish silver. The moon phase, we have chosen actually a realistic moon phase. So we didn't choose to go with the like more traditional one, maybe the sun, the yellow one. We have chosen just put on the actual face of the moon to make it a bit more modern, because we thought that maybe it will look a bit too classy, a bit too old style. In this way, in our opinion, it makes it a little less elegant, a little less dress watch, and a bit more for everyday and modern. The hands are dolphin hands, and the glass, the front glass, is a sapphire glass with anti-reflective coating, very standard. And the back part is a mineral glass. We have chosen mineral because it's more shatter resistant, so it's less likely to break compared to the sapphire. Of course, it's more prone to scratches, but it sits on top of the wrist, so shouldn't be any risk. And on the back, we have a see-through case where you can actually see the Miyota movement, and you can see the rotor with our motto. So memento audere sempre, and Italian design. So it acts as not only a reminder of the brand motto, but can also be a reminder to the collector, to actually also for him to dare to try and to experiment new things and do not be afraid of actually trying. So I would say, yeah, it's all, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like, first of all, I love watches that are
Mhm.
created by watch enthusiasts, because the level of detail that, and I can just see the passion that you have for every detail that went into this
Yeah,
watch. And I just know it's going to be appreciated by the people that are wearing it. So, you know, very, very cool, and very excited to see this come out into the world, and maybe even get one on my wrist. I mean, it sounds like a beautiful
yeah.
watch. It sounds like there was a lot of balance that you also had to think about, right? Balancing the features of the watch with the affordability of the watch, the size of the watch, making it comfortable, even down to the strap and making sure that that's comfortable. What were, if any, some tough decisions that you had to make, right? Because again, I think that's a really challenging line to walk. How do we create something that is impressive from a horological perspective, but also is affordable, and also is something that you could wear on a daily basis, right? It's both classic but modern. It's both impressive with its functionality, but not too big and comfortable to wear on the wrist. What were some of those decisions that you really struggled with throughout the process to ensure that this was a well-balanced watch?
A lot of them actually. Yeah, it's something that we learned along the way during this year. It's very, very different once you start designing a watch, because we have found out that actually we cannot do whatever we want, whatever we draw, we cannot realize it all. And it's something that maybe everyone has it in mind, but you actually realize it only when you actually start designing the watch, because there were many things that we had to find the best solution to it, because of course there are the technical constraints. So we start with the movement. With the movement, once we added the modules, of course, we had some constraints, because, for example, the wheels of the dates needed to be there for space requirements, and especially to actually be able to engage on the lever. So those things are really something that, yeah, you see, but once you really have to design it, you actually find out that you have to make some, let's say, compromises. For example, the position of the dates, we could have made only in that position, and if you actually want to make them in another way, you have to change everything. And in that way, it will increase the cost for so much, because it will mean to change the whole concept of the movement, for example. Other things where, for example, let's say the logo, even just the logo, the position of the logo, the font of the logo, the size. Other ways, for example, is the positioning of the moon phase, and especially the buttons to regulate. It's something that I didn't talk about. For example, if you can see a picture of the watch, we have two buttons on top and on the bottom of the crown, which looks like a chronograph, but they are actually ways to set the month, the moon phase, and on the opposite side, we have a third button to set the day. Those, for example, were not possible to be made. We wanted maybe to make it more symmetrical, maybe just have it two on two sides. But in that way, we had to change the lever in a way that was basically not possible, because how it works is we have the button pushes a lever. The lever is not on the same level of the buttons because on the movement there are some levels of the different modules. And let's make an example. The mount module, so the wheel, is not completely centered on the case. So in order to make we wanted, of course, to make the buttons centered in the case for aesthetical reasons. And to solve that, we have to make a lever that is not on the same plane of the button. So we have to make a lever that goes down and then makes a 90-degree turn, and then that can actually engage on the tooth, on the teeth of the wheel to actually move it on every press. They are really everything. Just this is just one small thing, but it's actually interesting because it's something that I never thought about at the beginning. When maybe looking at other micro brands or brands in general, thinking, yeah, they have the move, they have the button in the center, of course. But then once you start doing it, and especially for a movement with a lot of complication, there are all these tiny details that you don't think because maybe like the normal collector has never seen a disassembled movement with many complications, hasn't seen all the layers that they are and all the compromises, all the solutions that you have to find to actually make it not too thick, make it work, make it balanced on the design. And it's really, really a lot, but it was really, really so fun to do it, really.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, is for people to really learn and hear
Mhm.
what goes behind these creations, right? It sounds like you had a great partner, right, in Christian, who had a background in watchmaking. Um,
Yeah.
that being said, were there any challenges in finding a manufacturing partner that would take on such a task and making sure that, again, they weren't pushing you to make any concessions that you didn't want to make? How was that process, finding the partner to help you produce these things and ensuring that
Mhm.
they're a partner that sees your vision and stays true to your vision?
Yeah, it was not easy, and it was a really long part of the design process also, actually working with all the suppliers. We don't have only one suppliers, we have multiple suppliers, and we actually have changed them also during the course of the designing process. Because just to make an example, for example, the clasp. At the beginning, it was one supplier which made a clasp that was actually really nice. It was very well machined. It was super nice. But for example, once we received it and we tested, for example, on my wrist, the butterfly clasp, which was only on one side, so it was opening like this only, was sticking out a bit on my small wrist and was making like not so good impression, and was not fitting and was not hugging my wrist, my small wrist, very well. And so for this reason, for example, we had to change the supplier midway because we couldn't find a better solution with these suppliers. So this is just an example. It applies to every possible supplier. But luckily, we were able to find who can produce actually this kind of cold enamel dials, the one that can actually supply the complicated movement. So it was really, really the big part of our journey. And also one of the reasons why we were able to actually make it with at this price point, with our really intense search for suppliers, and many times that we have changed and negotiated prices with suppliers, saying this one can do it in this way better, maybe cheaper, so what can you do instead? In this way, actually, it was really I would say the main point of actually being able to achieve the price and to find really the best fit suppliers for us. So for example, also let's say the strap also. We also changed that because we liked the previous strap, but it was not soft enough. We couldn't find it really. So we started looking again. We wanted to make it more softer and a little bit less thick. Also the strap. Maybe now I'm talking too much, but it was once you also start to learn about straps, which is something that is much easier than a whole watch. I've learned in we have been to the supplier a couple of times. We have visited his factory. We have seen all the possible materials that he could offer, and he explained us really a lot of things about like the dimensions, all the characteristics of the strap. And once you start to actually go inside, even just the strap is so complex. There is the thickness of the filling inside, which type of filling, how long should be the filling to make the watch not too flat but not feel too stiff, how long, how many holes there should be, how distant from each other, how distant from the point, which type of the side, how to close the sides, which is the best way to close the side, which materials cannot close in a certain way. It was really it's super interesting once you start to learn it. But yeah, really the suppliers, we had gone through many suppliers, and this is one of our strong points, which enabled us to actually be able to offer the price that we can now offer on Kickstarter.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you're sharing this level of detail, because there's so many decisions that need to be made. And it's incredible that you've made it to this point now where you're ready now to launch this watch out there in the world. You've chosen Kickstarter, right, as where you're going to launch the watch. Tell us a little bit about that. When is the campaign? When can folks expect to be able to check out the campaign and back it? And why did you choose Kickstarter? Why was crowdfunding something that you felt was a really good fit for launching this watch?
Yeah, we plan to launch on the 1st of March, January, February, March. Yeah, March. Only due to marketing reasons, because we are already ready to launch, but we want to now focus on actually awareness of the brand. So we are just now focusing on that, because all the rest is ready. For Kickstarter, we have chosen mainly for two reasons. The first one is for the safety of the buyer, because we are collectors too. We understand that a new brand that pops out with a website, and every collector would think, maybe the collector likes the watch but thinks, should I trust this website that was born 3 months ago, of a brand that is the first time I hear it? Will I really receive the watch? So we wanted to actually get the collector a safe platform, which of course Kickstarter can guarantee safe payments, can guarantee shipping times, can guarantee a level of security that, of course, a microbrand on its own website, of course, can offer. But it's a matter of trust. Of course, we have to build the trust towards our future customers. And in this way, we have found that should be the best way for them to feel safe in purchasing a watch, because they have a strong and big platform as Kickstarter, which have already, um, let's say, funded many watch projects and other projects. So this is for the customer. From our side, instead, is a way to actually test the market, because of course all these things that I've talked about, the watch design, the prototypes, the marketing, and so on, are all, of course, our investment, me and Christian's investment. But there are other investments that are missing, because there are many custom-made parts to actually make this watch. So, of course, there are a big part of the investment that is needed also to actually machining, for the machinery and all the personal components that we need to produce, because there is really nothing, let's say, mass produced. The only thing that is more standard are the hands, which are Dauphine hands that we choose just because we think that suits the watch. But for the rest, everything is custom made. So of course, if it is custom made, it's not as cheap. And so we needed the additional funds to actually be able to finish the investment, but especially test the market to see if the collectors will like the project. Because at the moment we have received, of course, positive feedbacks and in general good feedback from the collectors. But one thing is saying it's a nice watch, I like it, it's cool, great idea, congrats. Another thing is all right, I want to buy it. So from our side, we would like to use Kickstarter, especially to test the market and to see if this can actually be a brand that then can continue making other ground complication and other special watches, if it is something that actually the clients, the customers, the collectors wants.
Yeah, I feel Kickstarter is the perfect platform for something like that, right? Again, like you said, it's not only a way for you to build a presence and have people discover you in a safe and secure and trusted
Yeah.
way, but for your side, it's a great way to get feedback, right? I've spoken to a lot of microbrand founders and watch brand founders who have just talked about how they've really connected with their backers who have continued to give them ideas and inspiration for new watches to come down the line. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that vision. This is the Origo, right? It's the original watch,
Yeah.
the first watch.
Exactly. Yeah.
This, I think, means that you'll have more to come hopefully soon. What does the vision for this brand look like? I'm sure you can't share everything, but what are some ideas that you have in mind, some things that you want to bring to the market? And what's that long-term vision for this brand that you have in your mind?
Yeah. The brand was born with a clear vision. Our vision and our mission, especially, is to make ground complication more accessible to the collectors. So we would like to continue on this mission. This will be our motto, our goal, our guiding light to actually producing something that is not just for the sake of producing it. We are making because we have an idea, because we want to make something that was not common, that was not what that was new, something that the collector would like actually to buy and has issues finding it. So our long-term vision, once this first project is finished, is of course continuing to make watches to actually continue and start a series of models focusing on the both ground complications and multiple complications in a single watch. This is why especially we are now focusing on the Axon Origo with this kind of price point. We have actually focused on to keep the price low. We have focused on reducing our profit margins to the limit, to the minimum, because our goal is not to make just one model and to then disappear, make money and disappear. Our goal is to actually build a community, build a following, and build someone who is passionate about this brand, and then to actually continue making grand complication watches, because we are making it for passion. We are not making it for profit, only for profit. Of course, if there is a small profit, okay, it's fine. But our main job largely provides for our needs. We are making this, we are staying up late, we are making calls at after I've been working from 7 a.m. today to almost 7 p.m. today, and now I'm doing this because it's actually a pleasure for me. It's something that really drives me to do it. It's not money, it's just the passion. And I would really love for this project to be successful, just because I would like to make other ones, because I have so many ideas of particular complications that I haven't seen, or if I have seen, they are very, very hard to come by and to find. For example, we have already been starting looking for other potential movements. It's really the hardest part, really finding and engineering. We are also evaluating about engineering a new movement. It's really the hardest part of the watch, because all the rest, the case can be machined. I'm an engineer. I can easily design a 3D case and then, for example, make it on a milling machine, for example. The harder part is the movement. So we are really now focused on, of course, on the marketing of the Axon Origo, but at the same time looking for the right movements to actually find and start the second model. So for sure, our long-term vision is to actually become a stable microbrand which delivers grand complication watches on a regular basis, new models, new versions, new colorways, new details, limited edition, this kind of stuff. And really our goal is to deliver something for the customer that cannot find in other places. What we are working now, I cannot really tell you right now, because we are not sure yet that we will choose those possible movements. But just to mention something, we are looking at some flybacks, we are looking at some minute repeater, some hour repeater. So this kind of movements, especially I really like, for example, the minute repeater, because it's something that, again, it's hard to find, and I think it's cool to flip the small lever and actually hear it. But yeah, for now, of course, we are more still in the research phase for that, because we are splitting our efforts into marketing for the current model and research for the future ones.
Well, your passion clearly shows through, and I'm excited about your journey. I'm a fan after hearing the details of your vision. I'm excited to follow along and, cheer you on your journey. If others are listening to this and they too are, excited about what you're building here, they want to follow along, they want to participate in your Kickstarter campaign, where's the best place for folks to find you? We know the Kickstarter campaign is as you said, going live in March, but where else can they go to learn more and to follow along as you continue to build out this vision?
Yeah, the best way for sure is on the website. We have made www.axonwatches.com. So just by typing Axon Watches, so AXON Watches, we'll get you all the information that we could think, our vision, our missions, the team, the idea, the model, and of course all the links to the other platforms. So the website is the best way to actually read and know more. You will find plenty of pictures that we have taken, that we professional photographers took, and like live actions, let's say, pictures like wearing it and so on. Or in another place to follow us, of course, as you mentioned, on Kickstarter. It would really help the saving the campaign would really help, because in that way we also understand actually what's the interest rate of the project. And last but not least, on Instagram, Axon Watches, where we post regularly, around every 2 or 3 days, pictures, updates, reviews, new reviews coming up, new videos, and so on. And of course, we are both, since me and Christian, we have our phone, we have it on our app, so we are really glad to reply to every question. Really, really, really. It's very nice to read the comments of someone, both some good comments, but also some areas of improvement. I'm very happy to hear about also that, because I think that we have put a lot of effort in it, but we are open to improve as much as possible. And so every feedback is really helpful for us.
Well, Tommaso, this has been really, really great. Thanks so much. I know it's late in your day. You had a full day of work. So thanks so much for taking the time and really sharing the details behind what it takes to bring a new watch to the market, do something different. As I said, I'm a fan. I'm going to be cheering you guys on from the sidelines. I'm sure many listeners today have become a fan from this. So thanks again for taking the time, telling us your story, and wishing you all the best of luck to you and to Christian.
Thank you very much for the time that you have given me. Really, I really appreciate it.